The strange transmission. The night shift was always quiet on Deep Space Relay Station 42. Only the soft hum of the engines and the blinking lights of the control panels kept Officer Daniel Carter company. Most nights were slow, just routine signal checks, ship traffic logs, and the occasional message from a freighter passing through. Daniel liked it that way. Out here, far from Earth, silence was the closest thing to peace. But tonight, that peace shattered. A sudden flicker of light ran across his console. The screen glitched for a second, then filled with strange static patterns. Daniel leaned forward, his brows knitting together. This was no ordinary interference. The signal carried a pulse, a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. Then a voice came through, soft and trembling. This is Princess Karen of the Viren Empire. I have been abandoned. Please, I need help. I seek a human husband. Respond if you hear me. Daniel froze. The words didn't make sense. An alien princess asking for a human husband? Out here, on a random channel? It sounded impossible, or dangerous. His training told him to log it and alert command. But something in her voice made him hesitate. The voice came again, this time weaker. Please. If anyone is out there, I have nowhere else to turn. Daniel's hands hovered over the controls. Was this a trap? Pirates and smugglers sometimes used fake distress calls to lure ships into ambush, and yet, there was something in her tone, a weight, a kind of hopelessness that felt real. He activated the station's signal recorder and began scanning for the source. The signal was faint, almost lost in the background noise of space. Whoever she was far from any regular trade route. The reading showed an origin point somewhere near the Red Nebula, a region known for debris fields and abandoned ships. The console beeped. The signal strength was dropping fast. If he didn't respond now, she might vanish completely. Daniel cleared his throat and pressed the COM key. This is Officer Daniel Carter, Deep Space Relay Station 42, he said slowly. I've received your message, Princess. Can you confirm your identity? A few seconds of silence passed. Then the voice returned, steadier now but still heavy with emotion. I am the only daughter of the late Emperor Velos. My ship was sabotaged. I was left adrift. My people have declared me dead. Her voice broke slightly before she continued. In my culture, without a life bond, I will lose my claim to the throne and my enemies will claim my life. Daniel frowned. She spoke with a strange mix of grace and desperation. But still, why a human husband? He asked her, his tone cautious. Why not call your own people? Or any other Viren ships? There was a pause when she answered. Her voice was almost a whisper. Because I cannot trust them. Humans have no part in our wars. You are my only chance. Daniel felt a chill run through him. Her words carried a dangerous truth. If her own empire wanted her gone, then anyone who helped her might become a target too. The station's proximity sensors flickered briefly. Just a glitch, probably. But it was enough to put Daniel on edge. He had been in deep space long enough to know one thing. Strange signals rarely came without trouble following. Still, he couldn't ignore her. Princess Karen, he said carefully. Where exactly are you? Drifting near the remains of Moon Tethra, she replied instantly. My life support is failing. I have maybe 2 hours before the cold takes me. Daniel's stomach tightened. Tethra was deep in the Red Nebula region. It would take hours for a rescue ship to get there from any known station. Unless. He looked at the station's patrol map. A small cargo shuttle was docked, and its engines were rated for short-range jumps. It wasn't military grade, but it might be enough. Daniel leaned back, weighing the risk. Leave the station, and he'd be breaking protocol. Stay, and the princess, if she was real, would die. Her voice came once more, faint and trembling. I do not ask for love. Only for safety. Please, if you hear me. Come, the words echoed in the silent control room. Daniel stared at the console, his hand hovering over the COM key. His mind was racing. Was this destiny, madness, or a death trap? somewhere. Deep inside, something told him that if he ignored this call, he would regret it for the rest of his life. He pressed the key and said, "Hold on, princess. I'm coming for you." And somewhere far beyond the station's scanners, a faint green light blinked in the darkness, as if something, or someone, had just started moving toward him. The alien bride's story, the small cargo shuttle. Cut through the dark emptiness of space, Daniel sat in the pilot's seat, his hands steady on the controls, his mind far less steady inside. The coordinates Princess Karen had given him glowed faintly on the navigation screen, each blinking dot pulling him closer to a mystery he wasn't sure he wanted to solve. The stars outside drifted past like frozen sparks, every now and then. A streak of distant comet light flashed across the viewport. Daniel's ears still echoed with the sound of her voice, soft, careful, yet holding a strange power. He wondered who she really was. Her story felt unbelievable, but so did her. Fear and fear. Fear was hard to fake, princess, he said into the com, his voice calm but firm. I need to understand why you contacted a human station. You must know the risk for both of us. For a moment, there was only the sound of static then. Her voice returned, warmer this time. I sent messages to other channels. None answered, none dared. Only humans, I thought, might still choose kindness over politics. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Kindness or desperation? He asked. She gave a soft laugh, though it sounded tired. Perhaps both. My story is simple. And impossible. He leaned back in his seat, letting her words fill the empty shuttle cabin. I was to be married, she began slowly, to the son of the High Regent of the Viren Empire. It was a union of power, not of love. But on the day of the ceremony, my father's enemies struck. They killed him, seized the throne, and declared me a traitor. I fled on my wedding ship, believing my guards were loyal. They were not. They took the crew, the supplies, and left me adrift, alone in the cold. Her voice wavered, as if she was reliving the moment. Daniel imagined her, standing on some shining alien vessel, the corridor suddenly silent, the lights dimming, the engines dying one by one. I sent signals, she continued, but the only answer I received was from my hunters. They told me they would find me soon, and end my life before I could claim the throne. Daniel kept his eyes on the navigation readout. You mentioned needing a human husband, he said carefully. Why would that save you? Karen's voice turned cautious, almost guarded. In my people's ancient law, there's a bond called the shield marriage. If I bind my life to someone outside the empire, a species untouched by our politics, then no Viren ruler can harm me without breaking the Treaty of Stars. It is an old law forgotten by most, but still binding. Daniel's jaw tightened, so this wasn't just a plea for help. This was strategy, survival wrapped in tradition, and as she was telling the truth, she wasn't just any refugee. She was a political weapon. Outside the shuttle, the faint outline of a dying moon appeared in the darkness. Its surface was scarred with ancient craters, its thin atmosphere barely holding together. Daniel's sensors picked up the weak energy signature of a ship in low orbit. It was smaller than he expected, elegant in design with smooth silver plating, and faint glowing lines running along its hull. Is that you? He asked, adjusting course. Yes, Karen replied softly, and hurry. The cold. It is becoming harder to fight. Daniel docked carefully, the shuttle's magnetic clamps locking onto the alien hull with a heavy thud. He suited up, grabbed an emergency heater pack, and cycled the airlock. The moment he stepped inside her ship, he felt it. The air was freezing, the lights dim, the silence deep. She was waiting at the far end of the corridor. For a heartbeat, Daniel forgot to breathe. Princess Karen was unlike anything he had ever seen. Tall, graceful, her skin a pale silver that caught the light like liquid metal, her eyes glowing. Faintly blue as if lit from within, her gown was torn at the edges, her posture both regal and fragile. You came, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Daniel handed her the heater pack. "You weren't exactly easy to ignore," he replied, trying to sound casual. She held the pack close, a soft sigh escaping her lips as warmth returned to her fingers. For a moment, she seemed almost human. But then her gaze sharpened, scanning the corridor behind him as if expecting shadows to move. "They will come soon," she said quietly. "My signal was not just heard by you. They will not let me go without a chase." Daniel felt the weight of her words settle on his shoulders, helping her had already set events in motion. The question now wasn't if danger was coming, it was how soon. "Then we'd better move," he said. But even as he spoke, the shuttle sensors flashed a warning in his helmet display. A ship was approaching fast. "First contact," the warning alert echoed inside Daniel's helmet. A sharp, urgent sound that sent a shiver down his spine. His visor display flashed red. Unidentified vessel approaching fast. He didn't need a second guess to know who it was. Karen's glowing eyes locked on his. "They are here," she whispered, her voice carrying both fear and certainty. Daniel's pulse quickened. He stepped forward, gripping her arm gently but firmly. "We need to get to my shuttle now." They moved quickly down the cold corridor, their footsteps echoing against the metallic walls. The air inside the alien ship felt heavier now, as if it too knew that danger was closing in. Through a small viewing panel, Daniel caught sight of a dark shape sliding into the moon's orbit. It was huge, far larger than his shuttle. And its hull was jagged, built for intimidation. Its running lights glowed a deep red, like eyes searching through the dark. "That's a warship," Daniel muttered under his breath. Corinne's voice was tight. "It is the Viren enforcement. Vessel Talkar. Once they find me, they will send soldiers. They will not leave until I am dead or captured." Daniel didn't have time to ask more. They reached the airlock, and he sealed it behind them, locking the clamps back onto his shuttle. The moment the interior hatch slid open, the warmer air of his craft hit them. Corinne's shoulders eased slightly, but her eyes never left the viewport. As Daniel powered up the engines, his cum unit crackled to life. A voice, cold and mechanical, spoke in perfect galactic common. "This is Commander Vol of the Viren Enforcement. You are harboring a fugitive of the Empire. Surrender her immediately, and your life will be spared." Daniel glanced at Corinne. She met his gaze without speaking, but the fear in her eyes told him everything. If he obeyed, she was finished. If he refused, the Talkar would see him as an enemy, and they have no problem blowing his shuttle apart. The voice came again, sharper this time. "You have 1 minute to comply." Daniel's fingers tightened around the flight controls. In his peripheral vision, Chiron shifted closer, her silver skin catching the soft light of the cabin. "You do not have to do this," she said quietly. "You owe me nothing." He gave her a sideways glance. "Maybe not," he said, "but I'm not handing you over to a death squad outside." The Talkar's main cannons began to glow with charging energy. The countdown clock in Daniel's display read 0:42. His mind raced through options. He couldn't outrun them in open space. The Talkar's engines were far faster, but the moon's debris field, thick with shattered rock and ancient wrecks, could give them cover. It was risky. One wrong move, and they'd smash into an asteroid at lethal speed. But it was better than sitting still and waiting to die. Daniel flipped the shuttle's thrusters to full power. The sudden roar of the engines made Karen grip the edge of her seat. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Buying us time," Daniel said, teeth gritted. He pushed the shuttle into a steep dive toward the moon's shadow, the Talkar immediately adjusting course to follow. The red glow of its cannons lit up the dark like a predator's. Eyes closing in on prey, Daniel weaved through the drifting chunks of ice and stone, the shuttle rattling with every near miss. Karen leaned forward, her voice urgent. "Left, now right. There's a narrow gap between those two rocks. Take it." He followed her directions, narrowly avoiding a collision. A plasma blast from the Talkar tore past them, exploding against a nearby asteroid in a flash of light. The shockwave rocked the shuttle. Alarms blaring inside the cockpit. Daniel gritted his teeth. They weren't out of danger yet, but for the first time, he felt something other than fear from Karen. He felt trust. She was guiding him like someone who had danced through the void before, someone who knew the danger and how to survive. Behind them, the Tal car pushed closer, ahead of them. The debris field thickened into a labyrinth, and Daniel knew the next few minutes would decide whether they lived or became just another piece of wreckage drifting through space. The hunter arrives. The debris field swallowed them whole. Chunks of ancient rock and metal drifted in slow silence, their surfaces scarred by centuries of collisions. Daniel's shuttle darted between them, each movement a gamble. Behind, the Tal car followed like a predator unwilling to lose its prey, its massive frame forcing smaller asteroids to scatter under the push of its engines. A low hum filled the cockpit, the sound of the Tal car's scanners sweeping the field. Karen's eyes flicked to the rear display, her voice tense. "They are locking onto us. They will fire again soon." Daniel's hands tightened on the controls. "They'll have to hit us first," he said, but his voice lacked the confidence he wished it had. A sudden flash lit the dark, a plasma beam tearing through an asteroid. Just meters away, the explosion threw shards of rock spinning past the shuttle, one slamming into the hull with a dull thud. Warning lights flared. Hull integrity at 93%. Another hit like that, and they'd start losing pressure. "They're hurting us," Karen said, leaning forward. "They're pushing us toward open space. If we go there, we're finished." Daniel's gaze swept the navigation map. She was right. The debris field was thinning ahead, and beyond it lay empty black void. No cover, no hiding places. Only the Tal car's guns. He pulled the shuttle hard to the left, aiming for a denser cluster of wreckage. The remains of an old battleship loomed ahead, its twisted hull a ghost from some forgotten war. It was big enough to shield them, if they could reach it before the Tal car fired. Again, the cum crackled to life. "This is your last warning, human." The cold voice of Commander Vile said, "Surrender the fugitive now, or we will open fire with full force." Daniel shot Karen a quick look. Her jaw was set, her eyes burning with quiet defiance. "I will not go back," she said, her voice low but firm. The Tal car's cannons began to glow brighter, the telltale sign of a heavy shot charging. Daniel's stomach tightened. One hit from that, and there wouldn't be anything left to surrender. He pushed the shuttle to maximum thrust, the engines screaming in protest. The wreck of the battleship grew closer, its massive hull casting long shadows across their path. Karen's hand gripped the side of his chair as they skimmed along the twisted metal, the shuttle's belly almost scraping the surface. The heavy plasma shot fired. It missed them by meters, slamming into the battleship's side with a blast that shook the entire debris field. Chunks of metal broke free, tumbling through the void. Daniel used the chaos to dive deeper into the wreck, weaving through torn corridors and shattered decks. Behind them, the Tal car slowed, unable to fit its massive frame into the wreck's interior. But Daniel knew it wasn't over, not by a long shot. "They'll send smaller ships," Karen warned. "Hunters. Fast, armed, and ruthless." Daniel glanced at her. "You've dealt with them before?" She gave a bitter smile. "I escaped them once." Barely. Outside, the shadows shifted. 3 smaller vessels peeled away from the Tal car, their sleek forms slipping easily into the wreck's gaps. Daniel's radar lit up with their signatures. They were faster than him, and they were already closing the distance. The cum came alive again, but this time the voice was mocking. "Run if you like, human. It will make no difference." Karen's fingers tightened on the edge of the console. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "If they catch us, they won't take me alive. And they won't let you live either." Daniel's grip on the controls hardened. The chase wasn't just survival anymore. It was war in miniature, and he had just become part of it. Flight through the void, the wreck groaned around them as Daniel pushed the shuttle deeper into its hollow corridors. Broken beams and drifting metal fragments scraped against the hull. the sound like claws raking across steel. Karen's glowing eyes scanned the shadows outside, searching for the hunters. They moved differently from the Talkar, sleek, predatory, darting between debris like wolves circling their prey. Daniel's radar beeped 3 times. "They've split up," he said, his voice low. 2 coming from behind, 1 moving to cut us off ahead. Karen leaned forward, her voice calm despite the danger. "Keep close to the ship's spine. There's a breach that leads out toward the nebula's edge. If we can reach it before they close in, we might lose them in the storms." The storms she spoke of weren't like weather on Earth. They were vast clouds of charged particles, swirling in the red nebula. To human pilots, they were death traps, blinding sensors, draining shields, and tearing apart electronics. But to Karen, they were home. Her people had learned to navigate them long before humans had even reached their own moon. Daniel hesitated. Flying into a nebula storm was madness, but staying here was suicide. A flash of light streaked past the viewport. One of the hunter ships had fired, the plasma bolt barely missing their port side. The heat from the shot rippled across the shuttle's shields, draining power. Another warning blared in the cockpit. "No more talking," Daniel said, gripping the controls. "Point me toward that breach." Karen's slender hand moved over the nav screen, tracing a glowing path between the wreck's jagged corridors. "Left in 3 seconds. Then straight until the light changes," she said, her voice steady, almost commanding. Daniel followed her lead, twisting the shuttle hard through a narrow gap. The hunters followed, their smaller frames giving them the advantage in the wreck's tight spaces. A second plasma blast hit the wreck beside them, spraying molten fragments across their path. Daniel pulled the shuttle into a sharp roll, avoiding the debris by inches. "There!" Karen pointed ahead. A jagged opening in the wreck's hull revealed the nebula beyond, a swirling sea of crimson and gold, moving as if alive. The moment they burst through the breach, the hunters followed. Inside the nebula, visibility dropped instantly. The crimson mist swallowed the stars, the light from their own shuttle barely reaching the edges of the hull. The air inside the cockpit hummed with static as the nebula's energy pressed against the shields. "This storm will blind them," Karen said. "But it will blind you too." Daniel's voice was tight. "Then you'd better guide me." "Because I can't see a thing." Karen closed her eyes, her fingers moving over the console in patterns Daniel didn't recognize. Strange alien symbols lit up on the screen. She wasn't looking with her eyes. She was reading the nebula's movement through energy currents. "This way," she said softly. "Trust me." Daniel adjusted course, feeling the shuttle sway as unseen waves of charged particles pushed against them. The hunters fired again, but their shots went wide, the bolts dissolving in the thick red haze. Karen smiled faintly. "They are blind now. They will lose patience soon." Her prediction was right. Within minutes, the radar showed 2 of the hunters breaking off, but the third stayed close. Its shadow flickered in the mist behind them. Hunting by sound and heat, Daniel's heart pounded. The nebula crackled around them, a living storm of color and danger. They couldn't stay here forever. The shields wouldn't last. Karen's eyes snapped open. "There is a hollow world ahead," she said, "a hidden place inside. The storm? My people used it long ago. We can hide there." Daniel gave a sharp nod. "Then lead the way." The hunter was still closing in. Every second felt like a coin toss between life and death. But now, for the first time since this chase began, Daniel felt the faint spark of hope. The hidden world. The nebula's crimson haze thickened until it felt like they were flying through liquid fire. Daniel's hands stayed tight on the controls, trusting Karen's calm voice to guide them through currents he could not see. The hum of the shields grew louder, straining under the constant push of charged particles. He knew they couldn't last much longer in this storm. Then Karen leaned forward, her glowing eyes catching a faint shimmer in the red mist. "There," she said softly. "The hollow world." At first, Daniel saw nothing but the swirling clouds, but as they drew closer, the storm parted slightly, revealing a great sphere. A world hidden inside the nebula. It wasn't a normal planet. Its surface looked alive, covered in pale, bioluminescent forests that shifted and swayed as if breathing. Rivers of light flowed like veins across the land, pulsing with a slow, steady rhythm. Daniel brought the shuttle lower. As they descended, he saw vast crystal towers jutting out of the ground, catching the nebula's glow and scattering it into soft rainbow arcs. Some of the towers floated above the surface, held in place by invisible currents of energy. This place, Daniel murmured. It's beautiful, Karen's gaze softened. My ancestors built sanctuaries here, far from the wars of the Empire. Only those who knew the old paths could find them. They passed over a valley where the ground opened into great glowing pits. Inside, Daniel glimpsed shapes, not machines, not buildings, but something in between, structures that looked grown, not made. Living metal bending itself into spirals and bridges, humming faintly as they passed. Daniel landed the shuttle near a cluster of these living structures. The moment they touched down, the air outside shifted. The mist of the nebula thinned, replaced by a shimmering golden light that seemed to come from nowhere. The air itself felt warm, almost welcoming. As they stepped outside, Daniel noticed something strange. The ground pulsed faintly under his boots, as though it recognized their presence. Karen knelt briefly, touching the glowing moss at her feet. It remembers, she said quietly. The hollow world remembers its protectors. It will hide us for a time. Daniel looked around, taking in the alien beauty. It was peaceful here, too peaceful after the chaos of the chase. The silence felt almost unreal, but beneath it, he sensed something else, the faint vibration of the ground, like a sleeping giant breathing in its dreams. Karen led him toward a crystal archway at the edge of the landing site. As they walked through, the air shimmered, and the outside world faded into a dim blur. This is a veil, she explained. It bends light and sound. Even the Talkar cannot see through it easily. Daniel nodded, but his instincts stayed sharp. They had bought time, not safety. The hunters had turned back, but the Talkar was still out there, and it would not give up. Inside the archway was a chamber of woven crystal and living vines, glowing softly in shades of blue and green. A low hum filled the space, soothing but also carrying a weight, as if the place itself was alive and listening. Karen turned to him, her expression unreadable. Here we can rest. But there is something you must know. Daniel's brow furrowed. What is it? Her glowing eyes met his, steady and unblinking. The law I told you about, the shield marriage, it is not just a protection. It is a binding of life and death. If you accept, my enemies cannot touch me. But if I die, you will die too. Daniel's stomach tightened. That part she had conveniently left out before. He took a slow breath, the weight of her words settling in. Somewhere deep inside the sanctuary, a low, distant sound began to echo. It was deep, resonant, like something vast stirring in the dark. Karen's gaze shifted toward the sound, her voice dropping. And we are not alone here. The final choice, the hum in the sanctuary, grew louder. It wasn't just sound anymore. Daniel could feel it in his bones. A deep vibration that made the air feel thick. The crystal walls shimmered with shifting colors, like they were reacting to the presence of strangers. Karen stood still, her silver skin catching the glow. The hollow world is waking, she said softly. It does not like outsiders. And it will not hide us for long. Before Daniel could speak, his unit crackled with static. Through the distortion came a cold, familiar voice. This is Commander Val. Your little hiding place will not save you. We are already here. Daniel's pulse spiked. He rushed to the archway, peering through the veil. Beyond the shimmering barrier, shadows moved, large, slow shapes descending through the nebulas. Red mist, the Talkar-S escort ships, sliding into position like predators closing the trap. Karen stepped beside him, her voice calm but urgent. "They cannot break the veil by force. But if they find the key, they will walk inside as if it were open space." Daniel turned to her. "What key?" Her glowing eyes met his. "You," she said simply. "Your arrival was felt by the hollow world. It has marked you as a gate-bearer. If they capture you, they can enter." Daniel's stomach dropped. So now it wasn't just about her survival, it was his too, and the stakes had just doubled. Karen's tone shifted, more intense. "This is why I asked for the shield marriage. If we bind now, the hollow world will see us as one. It will close to them completely. They will not be able to follow us." Daniel stared at her. Her face was steady, but there was something in her eyes, not just calculation, but something deeper, maybe fear, maybe hope. He couldn't tell. "You didn't tell me everything before," he said, voice low. "No," she admitted, "but there is no more time for secrets. Choose, bind with me and live, or refuse and let them take us both." The sanctuary's hum deepened, almost like a heartbeat speeding up, outside the veil. The hunters' shadows grew larger, their shapes clearer against the red storm. Daniel could hear the faint thrum of their engines now. They were close, too close. Karen stepped forward, her hand outstretched. Her silver skin seemed to glow brighter, as if the hollow world itself was lending her its light. "If you take my hand," she said, "there will be no turning back. Our lives will be one. If I fall, you fall. If I live, you live." The communit flared again with Val's voice, sharp and taunting. "Last chance, human. Open your gate, or we will tear it from you." Daniel's chest tightened. His mind raced. Marry an alien princess he barely knew, risk binding his life to hers forever, or refuse and face certain death. The hunters were seconds away, the veil already trembling under their presence. Karen's hand stayed outstretched, her glowing eyes locked on his. The hum of the hollow world rose to a piercing tone, as if urging him to decide. Daniel drew in a breath. Everything, the sanctuary, the storm, the war outside, seemed to hold still, waiting for his answer. And then